Hi guys, I'm Nico, and well, I've been asked a lot of questions on this topic actually, and I am constantly being assumed to be one thing or another, and I don't really talk about it often, and I'm not going to answer the question here. I am going to talk about the topic itself though, because I feel it's a topic that needs to be spoken on. The question I was asked is, am I a witch? I can understand this because I wear a lot of black. Firstly, in my defense, I wear a lot of black because I simply have forgotten how to match color with color unless I'm designing something. I've had children and I'm an enthusiast of red wines. And so a lot of spillage has happened on all of my clothing. And so therefore, since it doesn't show as much on black clothing, I tend to wear a lot of black clothing. And I was raised by bikers, and I tend to enjoy a lot of time in the punk, rock, metal, and gothic scenes in New York City. I tend to wear a lot of eyeliner and dark lipsticks, and my hair looks rather dark, and so everyone assumes it's black. And so, no, I mean, yes, I see why people would make that kind of an assumption. Um, it's a terrible assumption to make. You can't just go around asking anyone who wears long sweaters and a hat with black eyeliner if they're a witch. That's wrong. It's stupid and it's uninformed. Stop it. Now, I'm going to go over a couple of terms with you because these are terms, and people forget that a lot of what we see or say is done through a very Christianized perspective. You have to understand that when Christians ran around um, the globe, pretty much um, Christianizing the rest of the world, which means killing anyone who believed any differently than they did. And so when they were doing a mass purge and genocide of everyone who wasn't Christian, they coined a couple of terms, and they used these terms to describe the people around them who weren't Christian. And here's one: pagan. The word itself is a Christian term meant to describe any non-Christian religion. Am I pagan? Well, yes, I suppose I would be by Christian terms and definition, right? Anything outside of the Christian realm is pagan. It means outworlder, or that which they do not understand, basically. But they don't say it that way. They say pagan, and all of a sudden you see devil horns and pitchforks, right? But pagan also means Muslim and Jewish and Buddhist and Taoist and Hindu. Does this mean that they are pagan? When you ask a Hindu if they are pagan, how will they respond? When you ask a Buddhist if they are pagan, how will they respond? Because their religion does not use the term pagan to describe them. If you ask a Buddhist if they are Buddhist or pagan, they are going to say that they are Buddhist. So the term pagan itself is bullshit and made up by the Christian church to describe anyone outside of the Christian religion, but in a scary way, to scare Christians or to scare anyone else into coming to the church and being blessed, so that they could be protected from pagans, because pagans are always so scary. Um, Ridiculous. The second word that we are going to go over today in our vocabulary lesson is witches. Yeah, we're going to go there. It's not Witches are not a religious faction so much as a word to describe people, male and female people. Warlocks are not witches. Warlocks are those who betray their coven. Those can be male or female too. But that's a side point. Uh, A word, a word used to describe people who practice magic of any kind. Many religions have magic spells and casting rules. This is for any practitioner of magic, really. Christians have magic, Jews have magic, Muslims have magic. Magic comes from all different religions. Lots of different religions have magic. Does this mean that they are all witches? No, because again, this is a Christian term meant to describe people who use magic. Also, soothsayer is a Christian term to describe someone who uses magic in a positive manner to help those around them. Cunning woman was pretty much a soothsayer, but like they'd use charms and spells and potions to help people win the heart of their love or whatever the case may be. But they did things that were positive. But when they turned around and they started doing the witch trials, they were using the word witch to describe someone who uses their knowledge for evil. And evil was determined by whatever they damn well felt during that time. During the Salem witch trials, it was actually found out later on, and I know I'm going to mispronounce it, that the girls who were tried for witchcraft, the ones who were jumping up and down in the courtroom and making sporadic sounds and dancing and laughing maniacally for no reason, they were playing around. They weren't witches, actually. The fields that they were playing around in and dancing in were regular fields, and they had psilocybin. Oh my god, I hate the word. It's the magic mushrooms that everyone's all up in. Hold on. Psilocybin. Psilocybin. Okay, well, those mushrooms were growing around that time period in those fields, and it's more than likely that these little girls picked up those mushrooms and snacked on them while they were hanging out in the field. And so they were tripping balls when they were being accused of being witches. Other women were accused of being witches because they knew how to put aloe on a burn, or how to use coconut oil on their hair, or because they knew that certain things like castor oil would help the digestive tract or help you lose weight in that manner. All of these little things, celery, watercress, that can help you lose weight. Any of these little things that we now know as being fact or herbology or whatever the case may be, all of these things that are not necessarily medicine, but somewhere in that kind of realm, and it wasn't done by a man. It was considered witchcraft, and women were burnt at the stake or stoned and killed basically for their knowledge of these things. And they were called witches so that way they were justified in doing so. Yeah, right? Now, another term, Wicca. Now, this is actually not a Christian term. This is a modern term for practitioners of magic. It's short, I guess, for the craft of the wise. Not short, it's like an anagram for the craft of the wise. It's technically considered a blanket definition for all practitioners of earth and nature-based magics, with the ideology that the practice is passed through oral tradition responsibly, and only to those who would practice responsibly. So this is more like something. Let's say if I were practicing Wiccan, and I were to have I were to raise my family to practice as well, I would raise them to learn these things, but not practice until they were old enough to do so. I would practice in front of them so they could see the practice, and they could learn what it's about and how to do it. And then when they were old enough, they would be able to do it themselves, but not until then. And so it's very much a learning experience. It's passed down from parent to child or from friend to friend, but it's only done very responsibly. I actually respect this type of practice. Now we come to gods. My belief, my theory on the gods is that both living and dead hold meaning, blessing, power, and power for their people. And they all require some sort of sacrifice. The Christian God requires that you give your time and you do your charity and that you go to confession and that you deprive yourself of so many things during your actual life and that you live in a certain way, which is also a sacrifice. And so there are so many sacrifices in the Christian religion. There are a lot of sacrifices also in many other religions. I just happen to have studied more Christian religions than I did most other religions. So I know most of the sacrifices that are made in a Christian religion because you have to give of your time. You have to give of yourself very much for that religion. In Buddhism, there's a lot of giving of yourself also. It's very much minimalist. So if you have a lot of things, you give them away because they're just things. They're not, it's beings that matter, not things. And so that's a lot of sacrifice in itself. And I admire that as well. But anyone who says that God's or their God does not require sacrifice is lying to you and trying to sell you some sort of pipe dream. Now we come to the topic of tolerance. And this has been my favorite argument for the last, I want to say about 10, 15 years. I personally don't care if you tolerate my religion. My religious beliefs, my spiritual beliefs have nothing to do with you. You don't need to tolerate them. Just leave me alone to practice my shit. I don't shove my shit on you. You should not, in turn, shove your shit on me. And so, I don't care if you tolerate my religion. I don't care if you believe in my religion. What I do care about is that you leave me alone to practice my religion. The same way I leave you the fuck alone to practice yours. And I really hope that that level of respect is met. I don't care. Once again, I do not care if you tolerate my religion or not. I don't necessarily feel that tolerance is the right term. That people are using this term tolerance, and that's the wrong term to be using. I don't want to say acceptance, because it's not the religion that we're accepting. It's the people. I accept that you are whatever it is that you are, and I don't care. I am okay with it, whatever it is. Okay? You can be whoever you want to be, whatever you want to be, and that's fine. You do whatever you want to do, baby. I'm doing me. And I want to be left alone to do me and to do my own thing. And that's all I ask. Whether you tolerate it or not, I just want to be left alone. Don't shove your belief on me, and I will not shove my belief on you. You want to speak about beliefs? Sure, we could sit down and have a nice long conversation about it. I studied 37 different religions. I could give you plenty of back and forth on religion. We can go for days on that. I happen to be a polytheist, and I know a lot about religion. I happen to love learning why people think the way that they do. And when you are raised in religion, your behaviors and your beliefs mold the type of person that you are and the way that you think about things. And I respect that. And when I'm learning someone else's religion, or when I'm learning another religion, because I read religious books all the time, they're like novels to me. It helps me understand people better. learning about all those different Christian religions. I understand Christians so much better now than I did when I was a child. And I was a Christian then too. And I didn't understand what was going on back then. But I comparison read 17 Bibles side by side, literally. And I could see the subtle differences between the one and the other and the other. But at the core, they are all very similar. And the similar structural beliefs that they have, it's a basic structure that they have. And so a lot of people, most of the population, are Christian. And in that way that they were raised Christian, they have this very basic structure that most people work off of. They see me and they think, well, this woman thinks outside the box. Well, I do, because I don't work off of the Christian structure. I think outside of the box because I look at it from my own perspective. I'm not locked in by the Christian format. Okay? I look at it from outside and I think, well, okay, this can work, that can work, that can work, and this is how I can do this. And then other people go, well, I could never do that. Of course not. You're not me, firstly. And secondly, your religion would never allow you to do so. But mine does. My beliefs are mine, and your beliefs are yours. We can live peacefully together without ever having to talk about what my personal religious beliefs are, because they're mine. I'll have them. I'll keep them. They're mine. And you can keep yours, and you can keep them to yourself. I'm not saying hide them. You can wear your cross or whatever. You can thank your God. But then when something's going on with me and you tell me that your God has plans for somebody, for my loved one who just died, and I turn to you and I tell you to keep your God to yourself and to leave me in mine to me and mine, and you turn around and tell me all gods are the same because they're all one God. You have to understand that in my mind I'm envisioning gouging out your eyes, ripping out your tongue, and wrapping it around your neck and hanging you by it as if it were a noose. No, I do not tolerate this because you are not being accepting of my having a different belief. On that note, I think I'm going to stop here because I'm actually starting to get myself upset. I will try to be back soon with another video. Let's see how that goes. Talk soon.